Hello and welcome to the headline interview with me, Vanessa Baffoe. My guest today is musician Koren. She picked her Best Singer-Songwriter at the London Fringe Awards in 2011. Alongside her music, Tally is heavily involved with charity and champions women's rights around the world. And I'm pleased to say she joins me now in the studio. Thank you very much, Tally, for coming in and speaking to us. Now, let's start from the beginning. So you were born in Israel and you later joined the Israeli army. But let's start with your early childhood. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, so I was born in Haifa, in a small town. And as a child, I was singing. And it was at the age of 7 that I went to a local music competition, you know, like the X Factor. And I didn't win the first place. Actually, it was one of the last place, and that was quite a traumatic experience for me. And that made me stop my dream of becoming a singer. So all this time after, few years after I became a model, always just looking at the mirror and dreaming to be a singer.
Now, you talked about being a model. Now, when you were younger, you actually started modelling at the age of 13.
Yes, yes, which at the time it was not so usual. Today, you know, you have young girls, but at my time it was not very popular. But it just happened, and I traveled to New York and I lived in Mexico City. But then, as you said, I had to go back to serve the Israeli army, which is something that every girl has to do at the age of 18. And that was kind of difficult to combine it with the modeling work, but I did it. But always it was that dream to sing, which I did all my life.
And how did you get into modelling and also singing at a young age? What were your parents like? Were they quite supportive of you?
God, a difficult one. No, you know, every parent's like their children to have safety. And I think from very early age, I was different and unique. And when you have that in you, it does make the journey a bit more difficult. It also takes longer, because if you just play the game of mainstream, you can get much faster to your destination. But so my parents were not as happy, but they became my biggest fans now.
Oh, so brilliant. Now, you've recently become the ambassador for the peace. For peace, you received Ambassador for the Peace Awards. Now, where was that born from? What was the political climate like when you were young, growing up in Israel?
Of course, in Israel, it's very difficult when you grow up and you have this conflict that is forever. But when you live in London, the beautiful thing about being in London, that I have a friend, a Lebanese friend, a friend from Jordan, and you just communicate and we're all here together. Your perspective becomes different. And my vision, as in my region, my grandparents, apart from Syria and apart from Poland, I'm always saying that the East and the West conflict was in me all my life. And I managed to kind of embrace it and balance it. So for me, it was so important to see musicians from Palestinians, Iranians, Israeli on one stage, because my passion is to show that we all speak the same language through music. Through my music.
Of course. Now, let's move on then, and let's talk about your life in the army, because, of course, you've had, at this stage, you've had the background in music, you've also had the background in modelling. What was it like stepping into the army?
It was very difficult, because it's you have discipline there, but I liked it. I remember I came straight from Mexico City, living there quite sophisticated life as a model. Coming back to the army, need to do the cleaning and all the order that you have to do there. I like that extreme. I think it was nice for me just to have a bit of quietness. And the lovely thing that happened there is that one day, I was in kind of a secret place at the beginning, a general came to the room and said, we would like to take you to the general office to be a receptionist. they heard that my voice, my speaking voice, was pleasant. So at that time, I started to do my serving in the office of the #1 person, and I was the receptionist, needed to let him speak with the Prime Minister or, you know, with all the big people. So it was a very serious, very committing, but it was fantastic.
Now let's talk then about your work, because very briefly you do champion the works and the rights of women around the world, both here of course and also in the UK as well. And we'll talk more about that later on in the programme, but let's look at how being a woman has influenced your work over the years. How has that journey been? Have you found it more difficult or easier as a woman in the music industry?
So there were a lot of steps in the way as a woman. And I think for me, what kept my my motivation was the knowing that I've got something that I like to give with my music. There were a lot of struggles, a lot of music pluggers that say that there is no way the Jewish over 40 Israeli will be on a national radio. And they told me, don't waste your money. And I had the choice if to go for my dream or to listen. So there were a lot of struggles, but I think we have to listen to our inner voice, and that's what most of my songs are encouraging and inspiring people to go for that dream. And yes, and that's why I love and it's important for me to empower women.
And it's interesting.
To shine and do what they love.
Of course, and you're talking about listening to that inner voice, and it's a good thing you did, because in 2011 you featured on Radio 2's playlist, didn't you?
That was exactly after that radio plugger said there is no way that you are going to be on a national radio. I just went to a different plugger and listened to the single at the time that say, the only thing that holds you back is you. And I knew I'm not letting anything to hold me. 2 weeks after, I was on the playlist with the biggest names in the industry playing my music and over 100 radio stations. And that gives me a lot. And I feel that when you get things like that, it's your duty to share them. And that's why I'm acting for women and
of course,
make them.
Of course, and in that year as well, the success continued, because that's when you picked up the Best Singer-Songwriter Awards at the London Fringe.
That was amazing, because my writing, I don't write in the typical way of a singer-songwriter. And obviously because I have influences of world music and my background, it's not typical pop. I call it pop with edge. And so people always said, wow, you've got nice voice, interesting, but it was quite difficult to people to place me. So when I got the playlist and when I got this recognition of the Fringe Award, it was a very big moment in my career.
And what about live performances? How do you find that?
I found it, I love performing. I just love it. I become really a different person. I found that when you're not very famous, which, you know, I got the playlist and a few other big things, but I'm still not a big name. It's still, I'm looking for more venues in London that can accommodate a singer-songwriter, not just rock music or jazz music, just good venues. So I perform a few big events in a year that I create, and then I do a lot of charity work.
And which ones have been your best performances? Which venues have you most enjoyed?
I enjoyed very much, actually, it was a few weeks ago, the Electric Carousel. It was the launch of my album that was so successful that I'm doing another performance because of this. It's in Piccadilly Circus, and it's just the center of London. And I'm so happy that I found a venue that I can sing there. So I've got another performance on the 19th of May.
And you, of course, do have a lot of other paths as well. You also worked very quickly as a freelance journalist, didn't you?
Yes. In Hebrew, only in Hebrew. Yes, I love holistic medicine. I think not medicine, holistic life, organicness, growing, motivation, inspiration. So all those things are things that actually kept all the time my spirit, because you can imagine that coming here with one suitcase, having no family, no one, was not the easiest thing. So I looked all the time at things that can keep the sunshine inside me, and a lot of them are holistic way of living. And then I just became a journalist writing about them, and it was very nice, but it just became too much. So I had to choose journalist, musician. I did a degree as well in theology, and I just decided music is my life.
Well, it's a good thing you chose music, because we do have a taster of your music and we'll be able to share that with you after the break. So we're taking a short break now, but we'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back to the headline interview with me, Vanessa Baffoe. My guest today is musician Tallys Koren. She picked her Best Singer-Songwriter at the London Fringe Award in 2011. Alongside her music, Tally is heavily involved with charity and champions women's rights around the world. And Tally is here in the studio with me. Thank you very much, Tally, for your time. Now, you've recently released your new album, and on that album you have your single, which is A Love Song for You. Now, before we talk about that, let's just have a little listen to that.
Could you be more beautiful than you are? This night's so wonderful, and you're my shining star. Could it be more magical, the start of something new? Could it be more meaningful when you said I do?
So tell us a bit more about this single.
Right. So we decided to get married, and I contact Barry Upton. Barry Upton is a songwriter that's responsible for Steps and many hits. And he came to my flat, and the purpose was to write a surprise song for my husband for the wedding. So we wrote A Love Song for You. What can be a better title? And when we had the party, the wedding party, I sang it for him for the first time. And I hand to the guests also the words, and everyone was singing it. And, and it was very exciting for him.
What was his reaction? How did he react to it?
You can see on the video he's a bit embarrassed. No, but it was wonderful.
And from then on, you had a little bit of a change to your name, didn't you?
Yes, I'm Tallys Koren Edwards. English, British, proud. Still on the accent. I need to work on the accent still.
Of course not. It's perfect just the way it is. Now, let's also talk about your other performance, because you recently spoke and performed at the House of Lords, and that was in aid of International Women's Day. So let's just have a quick look at your performance. So tell us more about the history of this music.
That song is a miracle. It came to me in one take on Christmas Eve a few years ago. That was a song that many labels wanted to sign me or give it to some other famous artist to cover, but I always kept it. And it just, last year that I understood the title of the song is Free Will. If something comes to you as a gift, you need to give it back. And I decided to take the title Free Will, which is about choosing every moment, if to be good, bad, love, hate, war, peace, and just to spread the word. And I perform in this version. I perform with Ely Cathedral Girls Choirs. I'm singing there, and I'm singing it in Hebrew, Arabic, which I learned for that performance, Hebrew and Spanish.
So quite a lot then, many languages.
Yeah. It was
Just to
not
mix
easy.
it up.
I was a bit excited, and there was no microphone in the House of Lords.
Oh, I see.
So it was a bit, but it was such an exciting moment in my life.
Of course. What was the reaction like from the people there?
Yes, people started to dance, and you're not actually allowed to do music in the House of Lords.
Or when the music moves you, you've got to
I know.
dance.
So people were dancing, and it was really the right message, and that's how I wanted for women to know that they have the choice. They can still be the perfect wife, cook the best meal, great mothers, but they have to think about themselves as well. The inner spark inside should always shine, because when you're happy, you're going to be a better mother and a better wife anyway. So it was through the kindness of Lord Eames that heard me a few weeks before speaking about theology and religion. That was part of my degree. And he was quite moved by my vision to merge people together. And my vision was to have women from different nationalities at the event. And he kindly hosted the event. That was unbelievable that I'm doing an event in the House of Lords. It was a big moment.
Now, you did go there, of course, with a very strong message, and that's what you've just told us, to champion the rights of women, and for women to really just focus on their dreams and to choose their dreams. Now, where does your passion for women's rights and to champion the rights of women, where did that come from?
I think it's maybe because all my life I did as a woman, all by myself. Just how my life was. I have a great father, but it was not. Some women just have the father, the boyfriend, the husband, that do everything. For me, it's kind of like from really early age, I did everything for myself, and it made me become a strong woman. And some men see it as a threat, but men that feel good with themselves, they love working with me because I'm very easy, because I know what I want. So that's where it came from.
Now, let's go back to your roots, your musical roots, and let's look at stages and shows such as The X Factor and The Voice. Have you ever considered shows like that? And indeed, what do you think about shows like that?
So as I said at the beginning, at the age of 7, I had a traumatic experience because I was in a competition in my small town Haifa and I didn't win because I was not mainstream. The voice, the low voice was not what the judges wanted. My opinion is quite the same now, but I'm thinking for other people that mainstream, that they have the dream to become famous more instant, what a wonderful tool, a vehicle it is for young people that maybe do not have the same patience that I have, to go step after step to find their artistic way, the production, because today I'm responsible even on the production of my music. I'm involved with everything, the writing and the production. So I think it's great.
Now, earlier on, you touched on about your age and how some people thought that could have been a barrier, but actually you overcame that. And looking at it now, do you feel that your age has actually helped you because it's giving you more experience?
Absolutely. I'm 50 and just tiny plus. And I think life began at 50. When I was 40, I was panicked, but now I'm 50 and I just feel that my life is starting. And you have at this age, you have matureness that age cannot, you cannot compare it. So I'm telling my promoters, if you want me to start to compete with 20 years old in the chart, you're not the right promoter for me. I've got something particular to give. There are audiences that are thirsty for something real or more mature, like a good wine, like a good, cheese or whatever. So I just think that it's inner confidence that age gives you, and women need to celebrate it.
Well, I must say, Tally, 50 and looking absolutely fabulous. Now, let's look at the future then. What's next for you? How are you going to combine all your charity work alongside your music?
I think it's just this period of my life is wonderful because I can really see that I'm on the right direction, especially with the House of Lord and all what I achieved in the last few months. Obviously, I've got a love song for you album. I am planning to tour in the UK, then Europe, then the USA. The next album will bring more the Gypsy King, the Latin side in me, because I speak Spanish, and I want to bring into my music all the aspects and just take my music, the fame, as a vehicle to spread love and do my best to make a better world.
And what about your campaigning work, championing women?
I will continue, and I just hope that women that are listening to me just will contact me, and I'm more than happy, you know, to give advice. And in the next event that I will do, there is a lot of things that cooking at the moment, and I will let you know. And that will be wonderful to involve as much women as I can.
And just very quickly, if there's a woman sitting at home who's looking at you and thinking, goodness, she's very inspiring, what advice would you give to them? Very quick advice.
Just listen to yourself, listen to your intuition, and don't let anyone hold you back.
That's a perfect note to end on. Tally, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us here on the Headline Interview. Okay, that's all we have time for the Headline Interview today. See you next week.